Here's what's coming up on today's show.
You know, if you do have the health and you have the energy, why don't we, go ahead and start spending some of that money and doing the trips or whatever it is that you wanted to do in retirement and speed that up. Hello, this is Mark Silverman, managing member and founder of Silverman & Associates, and I'm also a certified financial planner professional. I want to welcome you to the Saving with Silverman podcast. I'm glad you're here. Each week, we'll discuss different financial planning topics because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life.
Hey, Mark, I don't know how much you keep up with what goes on in Florida, but a lot of strange things happen in Florida. But I just read about divers off the coast of Florida who discovered more than $1 million worth of long-lost Spanish coins while excavating a shipwreck near the city of Sebastian, Florida. The ship had been sailing back to Spain when it wrecked in a hurricane in 1715. The gold and silver coins are believed to have been minted in Bolivia, Mexico, and Peru way back in the 18th century.
It's probably worth more than that with what gold and silver's done this year.
I would think so. My goodness.
It's on fire.
Who does that belong to now?
I guess finders keepers, I would think. I don't know.
That would be my inclination to say,
yeah,
whatever statute of limitations has certainly run out after all.
Well, I mean, how do you prove who would own it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not going to find family members back then or,
Right. So I would say that those divers are in pretty good shape right now.
They probably are, yeah.
Or whoever they were working for,
Sure, exactly.
They
right.
claim it. So, my goodness. Crazy story. Hey, speaking of crazy stories, you remember Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Actually, I think it's technically dwarves, the plural these days, but that's what the actual movie was called, Dwarfs, or the story. So,
right. I remember a little bit when my daughter used to watch it, but it's been a minute.
Well, each one of those dwarfs have personality traits that probably show up in your office from time to time, and I want you to tell us some stories about how you've helped each one of these people. Okay.
I will try.
Now, I'm sure that you have seen somebody come into your office and immediately you think, grumpy. What's wrong with grumpy?
We don't work with grumpy. We work with happy. I mean, we really do. I mean, we work with happy people.
Maybe you can take grumpy and turn it
being a small firm. I mean, if you're watching the markets lately, there's not a lot to be grumpy about if you're doing it correct. But I mean, we work with happy people. I mean, obviously people have bad days and things like that.
Yeah.
And that certainly is part of it. But for the most part, we work with happy people.
Well, maybe
That's
grumpy
who we
comes
attract.
Maybe grumpy is always mad at somebody or something in the news because he follows this stuff every day.
That's why you got to turn off the news.
Yeah.
That's
How do you create a plan to please this kind of a person?
I don't necessarily know if we attract those kind of people, to be honest with you. I mean, we do our best, but if they're not happy and they just, Debbie Downer on everything, it's probably not going to be a good match.
How about somebody you might categorize as bashful, quiet, polite? They always do exactly what they're told. What's the danger for a bashful person like that?
Depending on where they're getting their advice, if they're always doing what they're told, there's so many different people out there, and I've said this before, a lot of these people are not certified financial planners. They're more financial salespeople who are just trying to sell you something. Mm-hmm. And if you just kind of go with the flow, sometimes you end up with stuff that's not in your best interest, i.e. annuities or something along those lines, non-traded REITs. I mean, there's lots of things that people buy, and you go, why did you buy this? So that's kind of the risk there. If you kind of believe everything you hear and you don't question things or do your own research, you could end up with stuff that's, not good for you or your family.
Okay, I'm going to ask you about another type of person you might categorize as dopey. This person has a long history of making some really dumb financial decisions. As far as you're concerned, is this person a lost cause?
Not necessarily. I mean, if you've made bad decisions or you've, just haven't saved and you've spent everything, you're probably not going to be a good fit because, as we like to tout, we help clients make better decisions about their money. And if you don't have any money, there's nothing to make a decision about. It's more just kind of try to get out of debt and keep working, and so you can pay your bills. So, it depends on how dopey they really are. But some people do make, poor decisions. Some people have made good and bad decisions. So it just depends on where they are. We try to help as much as we can. But unfortunately, with some situations, if people get into, not to knock on annuities again, but we see those quite a bit, because a lot of these people here on the radio are just pushing those high commission products, and they're dumping people into these annuities with promises that don't live up to what they think they're getting. And so they're stuck in these products that have, huge surrender charges. They're stuck in them for 10 plus years. Some of them have 20% surrender charges, and quite honestly, there's nothing we can do to get you out of it. You're kind of stuck.
Mark Silverman does what he does because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life, just to get that full statement in there. And now here's one of your favorite people, Happy. You would call him the life of the party. What are the hidden challenges you might find in planning for somebody who just seems happy all the time?
Well, we love happy people. We want happy clients, and those are the kind of people we attract. Again, not everybody's happy all the time, but I think some of the challenges could be maybe they're over optimistic, and maybe they take too much risk, and they don't need to be taking that much risk because they don't understand that situations change. When you're working, you could be more aggressive, and then when you retire and you have to start drawing off your assets, sometimes you need to back off that risk, maybe shift a little bit from the equities to the bond portfolio. Not necessarily, but depends on the age and where you're at and risk profile and that sort of thing, and what you might be drawing from the portfolio. So I think over optimism, and certainly that we can see that now with what's been going on in the market. We're on a very long bull market, which I still think will continue with what's been going on. But you still got to be diversified and making sure that you're rebalancing on a regular basis and doing the things you need to do, and not just putting everything in NVIDIA.
Just kind of makes me think of the old song by REM, Shiny Happy People. You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
How about Sleepy, who just seems kind of zoned out, and they don't really pay much attention to their investments at all? Is this a person guaranteed to be in trouble, or do you like those?
Not necessarily. I mean, if they're sleepy, they're probably not reaching out because they're sleeping, right? So they don't know who we are or what's going on. But those are the people that probably don't look at their statements or pay attention to what's going on. Or we've seen in some instances right now, which is pretty hard to believe after we've talked about how well the market's done, people who haven't done well. We just brought on a client recently who for some reason wasn't doing well, which I said, how is that possible? And sure enough, I don't know what kind of it was a strange portfolio, and they really weren't doing very well. So we had to rebalance it and change it and get the allocation correct. So you got to pay attention to what's going on. If you're watching the news or watching the markets and seeing that we had another good year, or we've had several good years, you should be having good years. I mean, you're not necessarily keeping up with the S&P if you're not fully in the S&P, but if you're in a moderate portfolio, say a 60-40, where 60% is in the market and 40% is in bonds, you should be doing fairly decent. If you're not, then ask questions or certainly reach out.
Well, there's another dwarf by the name of Sneezy, and we all know that illness is a big part of some folks' lives. You might call them Sneezy. How does this factor in the financial planning that you do?
Well, it has to do with the planning as far as the time frame. We may not be looking at a normal life expectancy. Maybe it's a shortened life expectancy. Maybe we need to start looking at, healthcare, and if it's not too late, some type of long-term care options in that sort of case, in case that is a greater possibility. And so it's just really looking and saying, hey, maybe, you do have some health now. Maybe there's some problems coming about. If you do have the health and you have the energy, why don't we, go ahead and start spending some of that money and doing the trips or whatever it is that you wanted to do in retirement and speed that up, because there could be some things on the horizon. I mean, there's no guarantees. But if you have a terminal illness or something that we know about that causes a higher risk of a shortened lifespan, then, making sure that you can get out there and do the things that you want to do with the people you want to do it with.
Well, talking about the 7 dwarfs here, or dwarves, or whatever the case may be, but the last one on my list here is Doc, who's a person who's well-educated and successful. So they're automatically good financial planners too, right?
Not necessarily. You could throw engineers in there as well. We work with a lot of Raytheon people, not to knock what they do, but they do what they do best and hire the rest. So when it comes to money, sometimes they do some pretty strange things, things that don't really make good financial sense, but for some reason they got into them, or somebody told them about something and they're trying to chase something that's not there. So, we each are good at what we're good at. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an engineer. I know what I'm good at, and I know my limitations. And I think, the most successful people out there, know what their limitations are, know what they do well. And again, like I just said, do what you do best and hire the rest has been my motto.
That's really something good to remember. We all have our specialties, and I know there are certain things that I am not good at.
Yeah,
What somebody
and
else
recognizing it is a it's a big deal.
Yeah,
because some people never do.
That's for sure.
Their ego gets in the way.
Mark, I'm going to recommend that folks give you a call if they might think they might like to work with you. What happens the very first time you talk to somebody?
So you'll give out the phone number, but what it is we have a phone number which you can call or text, and you leave a message, and then Christine, who works with me, it's just the two of us, will reach out to you and get you on my calendar for a 15 to 20-minute phone call. And that's it. It's really about just talking about what we do, how we can help you, what questions you may have. There's no cost, there's no obligation, but that's how really it starts. And then we can kind of get in deeper there depending on how the conversation goes.
And the cool thing is, on this show, you do most of the talking, but when you actually get to meet someone for the very first time, you are a good listener as well.
We are listening. Yeah, that's what's the analogy? God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Yeah, that's right. You'll be asking questions about the person because you need to get to know them in order to help them.
Correct.
In the best way possible. The number to call or text if you'd like to have a conversation with Mark Silverman is 520-333-7601, 520-333-7601. Call that number or send a text to it, and you can eventually end up with a true wealth financial life planning process. But this conversation, this 20-minute introductory call, is going to be a way to find out if you'd like to work together. It's just that simple. It's not going to cost you anything, no strings attached. 520-333-7601. You've been listening to the Saving with Silverman podcast. If you have any questions at all about your financial situation, please give Mark Silverman a call. Again, his number is 520-333-7601, or go online to savingwithsilverman.com. For Mark Silverman, I'm Ron Stutz. We'll see you next time on the Saving with Silverman podcast.
The Saving with Silverman podcast is brought to you by Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, based in Tucson, Arizona. The show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and everywhere you listen to shows. Subscribe to the show on your favorite app today and never miss an episode. Just search for Saving with Silverman to find us, or visit savingwithsilverman.com to listen to past episodes, to contact Mark, and to learn more about how to make smarter decisions with your money.
Did you know that Mark Silverman also has a radio show? Tune in to Saving with Silverman Saturdays and Sundays at 3 p.m. on AM 790 KNST.
All matters discussed on this show are for informational purposes only. Opinions expressed are solely those of Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, and staff. All topics covered are believed to be from reliable sources. However, Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC makes no representation as to its accuracy or completeness. This show shall in no way be construed as a solicitation to sell securities or investment advisory services to residents of any state other than Arizona or where otherwise permitted. Topics should be discussed with your individual advisor prior to implementation. Fee-based financial planning and investment advisory services offered through Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Arizona. Insurance products and services are offered through Silverman & Associates, an affiliated company.